Pay me, pay me, pay me my silver now. Pay me or go to jail. Pay me my silver now.
Hey guys, Bix Weir, roadtoruta.com. Very, very exciting times. Everything's about to change. Everything is changing. Trump is doing his part. China's doing their part. Russia's doing their part. All part of the plan. All part of the plan. All right, let's talk silver today. First, we are still giving away, at least right now, it is Tuesday the 8th, one Veritaseum token for every private road subscription or renewal. Go check that out at roadtoruta.com. Let's talk about silver. Silver. Today is Tuesday the 8th. So here's what happens every Tuesday. You can see what the banks are, where they're going to push the price each week by what they do after the close on Tuesday. It's just so obvious because that's the reporting date. They don't want you to see what they're doing. They don't want to see how the banks play with the moving averages. They don't want you to trade along with them. Otherwise, their game won't work. If you trade with them, you're going to win. If you trade against them, you're going to lose. So now so many people know what they do with the moving averages, with the fake derivative trades. It's just obvious. So yeah, the smartest thing to do is what India and China are doing, are taking delivery of physical silver, getting it out of the hands of the banking cabal. So where are we right now? Silver bounced off. It hit that moving averages way below it, and all of a sudden it bounced back. And people are saying, well, why did it bounce back, Bix? Because the banks play the 100-day and 200-day moving averages like a fiddle. If it goes below that, they cover their shorts or try the best they can. They try to hold it and suppress it. I think they're going to go for another dip. They're going to try to do another dip probably late tonight or tomorrow morning, Wednesday. We'll find out, because whatever they do next week will show up on the next Commitment of Traders report. And we'll know exactly what they did do. These big commercial banks, JP Morgan, Citibank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, HSBC, BlackRock. BlackRock doesn't really report that way. So BlackRock is a massive, massive silver rigger run by a guy named Evie Hambro of the Hambro banking family. Yep, that family, the royal lineage of the Hambro banking family. Of course they rig silver. They rig every other market. Why not silver as well? But here's the problem. Everybody sees it. Everybody sees what they're doing. The gold-silver ratio went over 100 again. Everybody's like, oh my God, look at this. Because they can click a mouse and put the gold-silver ratio at 500, 5,000, or negative. They can make it negative. Where basically you paid, you get 1 silver ounce will buy you 10 ounces of gold. And then you call it a gold-silver ratio or silver-gold ratio. This is a rigged market. This is a game. How much rigged is it? 100%. Look at the last 3 days. Yesterday, the banks traded back and forth with each other to set the price. 867 million ounces of silver derivatives. That's more than a whole year's mining supply. In one single day, these criminal bankers are literally dumping it back and forth to set the price. They also say, okay, Bank of America, you take gains on gold, but you'll take losses on silver, and we'll make sure they even out. JP Morgan, you stay there and you get as much physical as possible and lease out all the physical you can so we can restock the ETFs. It is a game. It is insane. And everybody knows it's how it's played. So how do you win? You take physical and you take it off the market. India right now is 100,000% chance they are loading up. Every time it drops below the moving average, they load up. Down here, it was down there for a couple months. They loaded up. They are loading up right now as we speak. And we are so close to the end game, I'm not so sure that they'll stop. Then again, I thought they'd do a lot more at the beginning of the year when we came under here. But apparently, you can't get it. It's hard to get physical silver. And, oh, by the way, it's going to take months to get it. And so the data will show up in the month after, which we saw in the February numbers. So I expect India to try to import about 50 million ounces. 50 million ounces this month. And next month is a huge delivery month. So keep an eye on this. Right here. Open interest for May, right now, 103,000 contracts. 500 million ounces. Will it stay like that? No. Most of those contracts are the big banks that rig the price. They just roll it over to the next month to control the price. Jeffrey Christian told everybody that years and years ago. It's the big banks. This is normal behavior. It is not normal behavior. It is illegal for futures and options to set the price of silver. And Jeffrey Christian is basically saying, yes, the futures and options are setting the price of silver because they roll it over every month. It's like he's admitting they rigged the price of silver, artificially suppress the price of silver by rolling over futures and options. Futures and options under commodity law are not allowed to set the price of gold and silver, but we know they do. How do we know they do? Because the head of the CFTC said they did a couple times. Two different heads. Christian Carlo said, hey, we had to introduce Bitcoin futures, otherwise the price would just keep going up. What? That's exactly what he said. Basically, we have to introduce fake trades or the price of Bitcoin will keep going up. And it is obvious that applies to every single market these days, especially gold and silver derivatives. Without futures and options, who knows how high the price of silver would go? Does infinity, unobtainium ring a bell? And that's where we're headed. So get your physical, get it in your own possession. A little bit interesting, at the beginning of the month, April's a non-delivery month, but the beginning of the month looked like, according to the deliveries, it looked like it was going to be about 2,000 contracts or 2,200, which has already been supplied. So we have a whole month left. And if you look at where we are right now with the open interest, we still have 600 contracts, 3 million ounces to deliver. That means 3 million more ounces. Wait, 6, 18, 2, no, that's, hang on. Every time. Yeah, 3 million ounces. I had it right the first time. So we're not looking at 12 or 13. We're looking at 15, at least right now. And remember, these guys can come in anytime during the month, place an order, and stand for delivery on the Comex. That's the rules. Will they change those rules? Absolutely. But we're still looking at potentially a very, very big month for May because of the artificial price suppression right here. Because they shoved it under the moving averages, everybody and their mother wants physical silver in their own possession. I told everybody, hey, if they slam it under the moving average, the 200-day moving average is currently... what happened to my 200-day moving average? I don't know. I'll have to put that back in. Around $30 and around here. It's right around here. $30.40. It's well below. Oh, there it is. Sorry. $30.87. It's well below the 200-day moving average. That means India, China, and Russia probably indirectly. They can't directly invest in the U.S. markets because they've been cut out of the system, supposedly. But they announced they are buying silver for their treasury. India has been buying massive amounts of silver. They know the value of silver. They don't buy it. Well, there's some industrial because India is trying to build solar panels like everybody else, which is a massive waste of silver, if you ask me. The fake numbers from the Silver Institute should come out sometime in April. It's like the 20th, 15th or the 20th. So I'll dissect those. I think they'll be more honest than they were last year and the year before. They have to be. So many people are looking at them. And it is improving. The amount of silver in the solar panels is going down, but it's still way, like double the amount that the Silver Institute says. So we will see. Now, the reason I say it is going down, there is new technologies, but remember, it takes years to implement those into to increase manufacturing capacity of the new technologies. So the Silver Institute says, oh, look, new technologies. That means, they're thrifting all the silver out. Bullshit. I don't know what the estimates last year. They did 600 gigawatts. DC of solar. That's over 400 million ounces. The Institute came up with like 200, something really ridiculous. They'll change that number anyway, so what does it matter? They change historical numbers at the Silver Institute. It should be completely illegal. I mean, talk about misleading investment demand. You know, every time I hear people on the news say, "Oh, silver's in high demand. It increased 6% last year." I'm like, what are you talking about? That's insane. But hey, leave that for another day. All right, so that's kind of where we are. I do expect a slam down when the market closes today. Maybe not. I don't know. You know, whatever they do for this week will be recorded and posted the next Friday. So we're going to see Friday's numbers from this last week, and I'll guarantee you when they drove it under the moving averages, the big shorts covered, the commercials covered. That's what they do. That's what they do. And then they try to cover it up. So we'll see what happens next month. And truthfully, at some point, they're going to just lie about the data. I think it's fairly true now, but they're just going to lie. Just like the Silver Institute does, lies on their numbers with the help of Metals Focus. So, yeah, you know, well, we have to keep the system going. It was for the good of the country, Bix. Don't you know what you're talking about? For the good of the country is having a free market. We wouldn't be in this situation if gold and silver were freely traded. We would have never gone off the gold standard, never gone off the silver standard. They are not freely traded. That is why we're in this predicament of potentially losing our country. How are we going to lose our country? Tariff war just begun. Beijing's counter-tariff options against Trump leaked by bloggers. On Monday, President Trump threatened China with an additional 50% tariff on goods. That's over 100% tariff on a lot of it, by the way, imported into the U.S. if Beijing didn't withdraw the 34% counter tariff. Hours later, China's Ministry of Commerce vowed to take countermeasures. Like I said, we will have 3 situations where the presidents are bad guys. Trump's first administration, he was the bad guy. He took all the heat from everywhere around the world. Then it was Putin's turn. He was the bad guy. He was the second bad guy, taking heat from everybody around. Third is China. This is a planned thing by Trump, Putin, and Xi. You need the 3 biggest countries in the world to take down the banking cabal. And that's the end game. Ultimately, when China shuts its doors, I mean, all we give China really now is paper money. Electronic money, electronic derivatives is what we get them. They don't need the customers of the United States of America. They have, 1.3 billion people, and we have 300 million. They don't need us. They're playing the fiat game. So Trump is absolutely doing this on purpose. What would happen if China shut off all the exports going to the United States of America, or all trade in general? Holy shit. What would Walmart fill up with, right? Where are we going to get our computer parts if they take Taiwan? This is all part of the plan. Who is getting gutted right now? The big commercial banks. Gutted through their derivative exposure. There's derivatives on everything, especially the U.S. dollar and the Chinese yuan. The U.S. dollar is just as rigged. When you look at the value of currencies, they call them floating currencies because they're not tethered to anything. So they trade against each other. Oh, the value of the dollar went up. The purchasing power of the dollar did not go up. In relative terms to other currencies is what they're talking about. So if they're all shit, if they all have secret computers printing infinite money behind the scenes like the U.S. does, I mean, Elon and his Doge group haven't even gone into the big ones. And he's finding computers that pay bills with no account behind them. Trillions of dollars are being created with nothing behind it. Nothing. Infinity money. That's what wrote in their sand a long time ago. By the way, those asking, yes, Banking Basics is a document that was published the same day as the Road to Ruta documents, the Wishes and Rainbows comic book and the Teacher's Guide, The Road to Ruta. Banking Basics is absolutely pointing the way forward. First of all, look at the guy, look at the top left, Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. They still have it. Banking Basics in their educational department. Right? Look at the guy. He's sticking a gold coin in a piggy bank. Look at this picture on 17. When was the last time you saw gold coins being exchanged for fiat money? Or who knows, those might be gold-backed dollars, for all I know. When was the last time you saw this in a bank? Why did the Federal Reserve put this in there? Very interesting. And the answer lies a couple pages later. Why do banks fail? This is from the Federal Reserve. They're talking about banks. Why do banks fail? A bank is a business like any other business. They can fail. Sometimes they fail because the people who run them make poor decisions, such as expanding too quickly or putting too much money into one type of loan. Sometimes they fail because of fraud. Maybe the president makes questionable loans to friends, or Jeffrey Epstein, or hires unqualified relatives and pays them huge salaries. But banks also go out of business because changing economic conditions can make it difficult or impossible for borrowers to repay their loans. Here's an example. Listen closely. Gusher, National Bank, slips on falling oil prices. Falling oil prices mean cheaper gasoline and lower home heating bills. So falling oil prices must be good, right? Not for everyone. Take the case of Gusher National Bank. You can replace that with JP Morgan Chase. Gusher was very aggressive in making loans to oil and natural gas companies that had no problem repaying their loans when energy prices were high. The loans spelled big profits for Gusher, and everyone agreed that Gusher's executives were smart business people who really knew how to make money. Then the economy slows down, or tariffs got put in, and the demand for energy fell. Factories burned less oil and natural gas. Truck drivers, commuters, and vacationers drove fewer miles and burned less fuel. As a result, energy prices dropped sharply, and many energy companies fell behind on their loan payments. Some even stopped making payments altogether. Months passed, oil prices remained low, and more energy companies fell behind on their payments. Finally, Gusher lost so much money to bad loans that government regulators had to come in and close the bank. Gusher had fallen victim to changing economic conditions, falling energy prices, and a high concentration of loans to energy companies. Is this what Trump's going to do? We know he can click a mouse and put the price of oil at minus $40. They've done it before. But here's why I'm reading you this. They give two examples of why banks fail. One is Gusher National Bank, because JP Morgan invests massive amount of money into the oil and gas industry, and when that oil and gas industry is really interesting because it has booms and busts. So if the price of oil fell down to minus $40, obviously they'd go bankrupt if it stayed there. That's a click of a mouse. Another way to destroy the banking cabal. But look what, in this pamphlet from the Federal Reserve, look what's right between, the other one is about housing prices crashing, which I think is coming too. But look what's right between it on page 32. What does that look like to you? Right between the two ways that banks fail, Bedrock Bank, who gave home loans, and the gas thing, they put this. If you've been in the gold, silver world for a long time, you know exactly what that looks like. Exactly what that looks like. It's right there. Look at that. That is the GATA, the Gold Antitrust Action Committee painting. That was an early fundraiser. One of Bill Murphy's relatives, or I think it was his ex-wife's husband, was a great painter. I'm real sad to announce that he passed away. I mean, I'm not announcing it. It was announced he passed away in February. Really sad. He's a great guy. I love his work, but this was so cool. This was the coolest painting, the GATA painting that he did. And that's Bill Murphy up there, and I'm one of those guys in there. And I have one of the copies. There's 300 copies that were made, lithographs or whatever, prints, limited edition prints. And that's on. If you look at any gold bug out there who's been in the game a while, he's going to have this print on his wall. I see David Morgan's all the time behind him. But that was the GATA print. And look, Bill Murphy and all the freedom fighters charging the Fed, saying, show us what you're doing, with the sun behind the good guys and then the Fed in darkness, all the doors shut, right? Later, this comes out. The Fed building, door cracked open, sunshine all over the place. Is that not a message, or is that is a message? That is a message for everybody. And then if you have a house, here's the situation with the house. Bedrock Bank gets too big too fast. Bedrock Bank's new president was determined to turn the bank into region's biggest lender. Bedrock's loan officers got the message and started making as many loans as they could for condominium developments, shopping centers, office buildings, and high-priced suburban housing developments. And oh, by the way, they've all lumped them into mortgage-backed derivatives now. Loan applications were not always checked as closely as they should have in the past, and some of the loans were approved more quickly than they had been in the old days. But nobody seemed concerned because the local economy was strong and real estate values were rising rapidly. Everything seemed fine. Here's where we're coming into. Everyone was making money, but then the economy slowed down and things took a turn for the worse. The weak economy forced many businesses to close, leaving lots of vacant office space. Real estate values plummeted and many developers fell behind on their loan payments. In the end, Bedrock Bank was losing so much money it had bad real estate loans that the government regulators were forced to step in and close it. They're giving you two examples squished right between the GATA picture. The regulators tried to find a buyer for Bedrock, but no other bank wanted to get stuck with all the loans that had gone bad. Eventually, another bank agreed to buy Bedrock if the federal government would agree to keep many of the problem loans. That's exactly what happened in 2008. That's been happening ever since. And then you got the Silicon Valley Bank and all that. Ultimately, this is where we'll get. Ultimately. What do you think Trump's saying about all this gold under the ground? Oh, we have gold. We're heading into a golden age. What we have in the ground is like gold, the black oil in the ground. This is all coming out of Road to Ruta documents. 100%. This is the plan. They will destroy the old system and go to something new and better. You cannot fix this system. If you want to get rid of debt, there's only two ways to do it on the planet. One, you destroy the whole system. That's where we're going. Nobody ever pays off their debt. It just doesn't happen. Not a country has. I don't think any country has ever paid off their debt. Ever. And stayed out of debt. It's part of the game. If you can create money out of thin air and you get elected if you keep giving money out, that's what you're going to do. So let's talk about who's exposed to oil and gas. So I asked Grok, what banks have the highest investment exposure to the oil industry? Determining which banks have the highest investment exposure to the oil industry involves looking at their lending and underwriting activities, particularly to oil and gas companies, based on the available data, including historical trends and more recent analysis. Here's an overview of the banks. JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, Wells Fargo, and Bank of America. Four of the massive gold and silver riggers. It's like the Fed is screaming these banks are going to be taken down. And we will have the light. We will go into the light of the Federal Reserve in the background. And we will rip the door open like Ron Paul said. Good stuff, huh? Anyway, yeah, we're in the process. This China-U.S. thing is going to escalate and escalate and escalate. It is the final plan to have Xi be the bad guy. So he's going to go into Taiwan. He's going to take Taiwan, and he's going to cut off the United States and the rest of the world. Probably they have plenty of people to feed and clothe and to sell goods to. There was a reason that China was building all those ghost cities, massive cities with nobody in them. Now everybody can come in them. When the debt's gone, and the debt will be gone with the crashing of the global unbacked fiat monetary system, because of the derivative popping. JP Morgan, the largest bank on the planet, has the largest derivative book of all the banks that we know of. Now, some of them aren't reporting properly. So who knows what BlackRock has as far as derivatives? Nobody really knows. But JP Morgan, as far as banks are concerned, that's the one that I think the good guys are going to take down because they're the number one criminal rigger. They're the only bank for Madoff and Epstein, the only bank. So, of course, senior management was in knee-deep, even in business partnerships with Epstein and his partners. Epstein was the largest supplier of in the personal wealth division of supplier of clients, hint, in the personal wealth division of JP Morgan Chase. So for Jamie Dimon to say, I didn't even know him in court testimony, the girls used to call him Jamie Demon, apparently. Anyway, all this is coming out. And Cliff High's data, I just took a look at it, and he gave a discussion the other day. Really interesting stuff. He has building tension from now just continuing to build to way up into the 90, 98%. 90 is, I think, just below kind of 9/11 type stuff. That's all in July, but everything's going to build and get more intense, more intense, more intense. July, something big's going to hit, maybe alien shit, maybe something about all the fraud at every department in the United States. And then it settles down for a little bit until October. He has the biggest spike of the year, and then December also. But yeah, so it'll build. Right now it's at 54. You think it's crazy right now. April will be 54, going into 65. So May will be even more intense, with June at 78. Think of this as percent of maximum type of thing. I'm not exactly, it's the emotional tension levels. But he has it literally, October's 98%. I mean, 100% probably is bigger than 9/11. I don't know what his number was for 9/11, but I'm sure it was up in the 90s. And we're hitting a 90 in July. And we all know how big the 9/11 was for humanity. Everything changed. What was it, 2 weeks, and they had the 3,000-page Patriot Act signed? That was already written, my friends. Anyway, that's what I got for you at Bix Weir. RoadToRoad.com. Again, we are currently giving away one Veri token with every private road subscription while they last. If you're not familiar with Veritaseum, it's Reggie Middleton's token that got confiscated from him. He has the patent on 7 patents now on DeFi in the crypto world. So almost everything other than standalone blockchains could be subject to Reggie's patent. And whether or not the token will come into play, I don't know. They actually froze 98 million of the 100 million tokens he created and said in the plea agreement that he could never work in cryptos again. So it would have to be reversed in some way, which I think it will. Trump has been reversing some crypto stuff. I think ultimately the U.S. government needs Reggie Middleton's system of peer-to-peer transactions, because if there's no middleman in the banking system, that's great, because all these middlemen are going to go away when the system fails. So that's in Cliff's data, and it goes to over the price of Bitcoin. So very interesting time for Veritaseum. Again, I always say this is like a lottery ticket, because, I mean, so many things have to fall in place for this prediction to come true. But, a big chunk of them already have. Nobody thought Reggie would be awarded the patent on DeFi, decentralized finance, in peer-to-peer transactions, peer-to-peer capital markets. So yeah, very exciting time. We're giving away one with every private road subscription at theroadtoroota.com. Go check that out. I'll talk to you guys later.